What up, Neos? Welcome to part 2 of the Persona ending after the ending called The Answer. In the last episode, the crew find out from a snippy robot named Metis that there is an added expanse under the dorm called the Abyss of Time. Unless the crew defeats whatever is down there, the world will be frozen in time, doomed to repeat March the 31st over and over again. Also, they will be trapped in the dorm. Aigis has been tasked to discover the meaning of life by Igor in the Velvet Room and given the persona powers that Makoto once had. She's afraid that finding the answer will mean the end of her life like it meant for Makoto. Alright, back to the story.
Huh? What was that?
Anyway, the crew gets their C's gear and heads to door 1. They fight and follow shadows around until they get to the big door on the 15th floor. Junpei wonders why the shadows are still a thing, and Yukari is depressed that they are still doing this crap after they went through so much before. She was always looking forward to leaving everything behind, you know.
After the hell we went through, we finally had some peace. I was determined to keep my eyes on the future and not look back. But now I'm being dragged back to the way things used to be. Yukari.
Once they go through the door, they find they are in the Polonia Mall. June 2009, which is last year in this game. They can't leave the mall, but they are really there. The cop talked to them and everything. The crew stood around and gasped for like an hour, and that was it for the door. So, in the second door, they are still chasing the shadow of someone who is starting to look pretty familiar. But every time they get close to catching up to that guy, they run into a tough shadow they have to fight. The 15th floor leads us to a past memory where Ken is at the police station giving his witness statement of his mom's death.
If I told you what happened, would you believe me?
Of course I would, huh? Helping people out is our job.
My mom was murdered. Around midnight, I got up to use the bathroom, and I heard voices by the door. I looked and saw this teenager holding his head and yelling.
Wait, you're saying he did it? But the whole house was crushed.
There was this shining kind of horse monster, and it came right out of him. It roared, and my mom and my house were...
Oh, a monster, huh? Yeah, well, yeah, there's no way that actually happened. Oh, I shouldn't laugh. I know, sometimes after a traumatic incident like this, people can...
I'm not lying, and I really saw it.
Look, it was an accident. Plain and simple. A drunk driver crashed his car into your house.
What? A car crash?
We've already found the car and what's left of the driver. We just need an account of the accident now.
That's a lie! You're making that up!
I know that's what you think, but, it's true.
My family must have been the ones who put the accident cover-up in place. I'm sorry for that.
It's jacked up, but cops be like that in Asian countries. I hear it in true crime podcasts all the time. In the USA, we have a few higher powers in place to handle things once corruption is known. If it's that bad, they can pass it to the FBI. But in China, Japan, Taiwan, cops can cover things up and shut down an investigation as fast as the DJ shuts down a roller rink at closing time. They just get onto the podium and tell you what they're going to write down as the conclusion, and then they stonewall you. You could have seen the murder happen right in front of your face, but without the police actually doing their job, you are screwed. Anyway, once they get out of the memory, everyone looks at Ken.
The door's gone.
But the first door didn't disappear, it just opened up to a new place.
I thought of lots of ways to search for the culprit, but I couldn't manage any of them alone. I kept wondering why the culprit had special powers and I didn't. I wonder if that's what led me to start experiencing the dark hours since that day.
Hey, Metis! What was that about? Why do we see such a painful memory?
Huh? How would I know? It's your past.
You better not be hiding anything.
Akihiko is such a meathead. He wants to bloody his knuckles trying to bust up a woman robot so bad.
Right now, you wish to erase the abyss of time as soon as possible and make it out alive, right? If so, then although what's inside the doors seems unrelated to our situation, we see it for a reason. Maybe you should think hard about what the reason might be instead of wasting time accusing me.
What did you say?
Anyway, Ken points out that this is the moment he draws from when he's fighting. Now that he's resolved his issues, he is having problems finding the same motivation he used to have. He asks Akihiko if that's why he rededicated his life to boxing.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I do feel just like I did.
Let's not talk like that. There's no use bringing up the past. Don't you remember our entire reason for risking everything? If we don't keep our eyes forward, it was all a waste of time.
Yukari.
Of course, Yukari shuts them off because her whole thing is to blurry the past and move forward. Bury all the friends that you have made based on a shared trauma. All the memories that make up who you are. I mean, her story arc was basically finding out why her father disappeared and having a guy she got close to sacrifice himself for the good of the world.
So that's why you were hiding this? Because you felt sorry for me? Is that it?
I mean, she obviously didn't know what the hell was going on.
No, Takiba,
Oh, she's gonna run away.
I don't want your pity!
So I get it. And she isn't allowed to heal because she keeps getting dragged back into her drama. Anyway, in the third door, by the way, these bosses are really hard. I forgot how hard this game actually is. But this epilogue story is harder than the regular game. It's not as much the fact that they are stronger. It's that it's almost a fair fight, you know? Especially when they can heal themselves. Your heart drops a little bit when that happens. So in this door, we see a memory of a young Akihiko being scouted by a rival school.
Sorry, but I don't see any reason to join a school that places second. Get out of here.
Mitsuru walks up on him and gives her pitch.
I heard it gets crowded after practice, so I waited here instead. I have enemies that need defeating. They're not people, I assure you. You wouldn't be bound by the rules of boxing. No, the enemies I speak of, they're related to what you've recently been experiencing each midnight.
To tell the truth, I thought that girl was crazy until I first summoned my persona. What was I supposed to expect when you gave me what looked like a gun 5 minutes after meeting me?
all part of the plan. That was the best way I could think of to get your attention. If I'd asked you to do something like fight for justice, I knew you'd never listen.
You could say that again.
So the gist of Metis is that she appears to be trying to understand how people's motivations work. She is motivated by having a family and has attached herself to Aigis for this reason. She noticed that Aigis has friends, and she pieces together the story she wants to know and understand things about the world that they live in. The only problem is that the crew is not allowed to talk about Makoto for some reason. Aigis doesn't want to go to school because she has no motivation to, since she was supposed to be protecting Makoto. Yukari doesn't want to talk about it because she buries the past and everyone else is just scared of Yukari going mental. The fourth door leads them to following another shadow, At this point, it's clear it's a silhouette of Makoto himself, even though the characters don't know it. If you have played this game to the finish, there's no doubt in your mind. This time the memory is about Junpei.
Stupid old man. How low do you have to be to get drunk on cooking wine? But I guess it's just as pathetic to rush out like this every day. Man, what am I gonna do? I got nowhere to go. Yo, sup, Pooch? Here to join my nowhere to go after school club?
You see, Junpei is poor, so he can't live with the other students in his dorm, and that traps him in the house with his abusive, alcoholic father. The other kids from the dorm showed up having snuck out past curfew.
Hey, we're going to Escapade. Want to come with? We're helping this guy drown his sorrows over a girl.
That's not true.
Don't let it get to you. That's what you get for going after someone like Yukari Takeba. Although I never expected her to hook up with a new transfer student. I guess she goes for that kind of dark side of his.
Of course they are talking about Makoto, but when they push for Junpei to come, he gets pissed because alcohol.
Come on, let's get going. You snooze, no booze.
Booze? I think I'm gonna pass.
Huh? What's the matter? Come on, why don't you live a little?
I said I'm gonna pass. I just ain't in the mood.
I guess this is like the 1700s or something. We're calling it booze. Like, why are we calling it booze? It's alcohol, it's drink, it's libations. Nobody calls it booze anymore. I'm saying that. I'll probably go to Boston. They're all like, hey man, did you get some booze? Anyway, outside of the memory, Junpei explains his memory to the others and how living in the dorm with them was what he needed to turn his life around. Which of course messes Yukari up because she only thinks about her situation.
Looking back, that was the day Akihiko-san found me. The only place I could go from there was the convenience store. And that's where I was when the dark hour hit.
You were bawling in the dark with that awful expression. Honestly, you looked worse than the shadows.
She's like, oh yeah, Junpei's dad isn't dead. He's an abusive alcoholic and the trauma we had together was some of the only time he felt love in his life. We need to forget about this though because of how I feel. Metis finally starts understanding things with Aigis to guide her reasoning.
I think I'm starting to get it. There is a reason we see what we see inside the doors. Doors that have delivered on that reason disappear, and those with roles still to play remain.
In the fifth tower, everything happens the same. The boss looks pretty cool though. The memory is of Mitsuru, her father, and a creepy scientist showing up with security at the steps of Tartarus.
Everyone here has had their potential developed in our labs. That should suffice to protect us. And even if you're devoured, that in itself would be valuable data for us.
Is anyone left in the Ergo division who isn't a psycho?
What the?
That's a shadow.
You little... Sir! Miss! Ugh.
Father!
Oh, did you see that? Such power! It's a persona. I was right. Persona users do exist.
After the memory, Mitsuru cries a little because her dad is dead. Then Fuka finally brings up the material she found from the beginning of the journey. I was wondering about that.
Remember the machinery and documents Mitsuru-senpai found? I looked into them, and it turns out they were things that the chairman hid when he was still alive. Most of them were from the accident 10 years ago, so he must have hid them so they wouldn't be destroyed. Some of the notes I found seem to be talking about the Abyss of Time. We may be close to discovering what this place really is.
We're closing in on it.
We should hurry forward.
That's it? He hid documents and it took you that long to identify them, but not actually read through them to give us any real information? I would have called everyone in for a meeting the moment I found any documents on the Abyss of Time. What the hell? And none of them have any follow-up questions or anything. They're all like, thanks for letting us know the documents exist. Onward. It's garbage. Door 6, it's Yukari's turn. She gets that letter from her dad that she was afraid to open earlier.
What? It's from an Eiichiro Takeba. Is he a relative?
But that can't be. Commemorating the opening of the Moonlight Bridge 10 years ago?
Takeba-san, wait! I need your signature here. And you forgot your things. These are your things, aren't they? Takeba-san?
Back in the Abyss, Mitsuru finally calls Yukari out so she can explain herself.
If we're being forced to look into our pasts, it would have been nice if you could have seen your father. I would have liked to meet him.
It's not that big a deal. Now's not the time to go over the past. I'm tired of dealing with shadows. We should hurry and finish this.
Yukari, aren't you pushing yourself a little too hard?
You know how Aigis has his power? She might not realize it, but that's gotta mean she inherited something from him. I'm anxious to get my own sign that I'm actually moving forward. I made a promise with him too.
Yukari.
Then the crew starts to do some deductive reasoning about the Abyss.
Kenkun's story, Akihiko-senpai's story, Junpei's and Koromaru's too. Mitsuru-senpai's is the one that makes it the most obvious. What we've seen is each of our reasons for awakening to our persona.
It fits. Fuka awakened in front of everyone, and Aigis and Metis could use it from the beginning. So there's no need to see their memories. That would make the most sense.
But even if that's so, why would we be seeing that here? Is it telling us to step back and examine our origins? Aigis-san, what do you think?
Well...
Yo, Aigis' sister! Don't act like this doesn't involve you. Let's hear what you think.
Why? I can't talk about the past with you all. I don't know anything about it. You said you wouldn't leave me behind, but I don't know anything about your past, so I'm always lost during these conversations.
Ah, I get it. You're lonely. See, you're a kid after all. Now I get why you got all well-behaved when we said we'd leave you behind.
I'm not a kid.
Last door. This time they get to the bottom and Fuka remembers to tell everyone that stuff that was in the documents that the professor left behind. Wow.
Oh, there's something I had to tell you all. It was in the papers about the Abyss of Time I mentioned before. If the report is correct, this place came into existence as a reaction to the creation of Tartarus. The gigantic tower rising so high left a gigantic hole in its place. That's the Abyss.
Does that mean they've known about this place for 10 years?
They decided it would be harmless if left alone, since it would probably disappear with Tartarus. But it also said that since the Abyss is just a byproduct, there should be no shadows in it.
Wait a sec. There's a friggin' ton of shadows here. And if it was supposed to go poof along with Tartarus, why are we standing in it now? Did they forget a decimal place or something?
No, their logic makes sense. What was supposed to vanish is still here because of some force. One side's removal caused an imbalance.
What could that force be?
Maybe it has something to do with that shadow that looks like Makoto.
Wait! Please, wait! No! Don't go! I promised to protect you. I dedicated my life to that purpose. But I can't fulfill that purpose anymore. There's nothing more I can do. Can I continue to live this way? Does my life have a meaning? If so, I wish I could return to being a mere machine.
Wait, hold on a second. Did you see that? Shadow came out at the last second there. Wonder what that's all about.
Huh? That's the cause?
But what's it mean? That looked like it was Aigis' memory. What kind of a clue is that? Aigis didn't have to awaken to her persona abilities, right?
No, she did. She awakened to the special power he had. I always woke up to that. It was so painful to lose him. I withdrew into my room, unable to do anything. For a while, I did nothing but chase after him in my dreams. But after a while, I stopped dreaming entirely. It felt like a weight on my chest lightened and fell off. That must have been the last of the dreams I had. But I don't see what that has to do with my awakening.
Don't you get it? What we saw was only my sister's memory. But all of you want to see him again, right? Then the answer is obvious. What I said at the start was right all along. The fastest way to solve this would be to eliminate all of you.
So, that means that figure we keep seeing is...
Wait, something's wrong.
What the?
Just as I thought. It's coming. The monster that's taken the shape of your regrets.
Is that?
You gotta be kidding. That can't be.
This is the reason for everything. From the Abyss of Time's failure to disappear to the presence of shadows. This was born from all of you.
So, Shadow Makoto was a manifestation of everyone's single regret. It took residence in the abyss of time before it could leave, and filled it with shadows, froze time, and locked everyone in the doors to force the confrontation. Well, they defeated it.
I need your help!
All right, we're going to cut it off there. You think that was the end of Persona 3 The Answer, but it's not. Now, you know these games need to stretch shit out unnecessarily, and there was a planned ending for this game, and beating Makoto is not the answer. There's still more to delve into and more whining to be had. After all, beating Shadow Makoto doesn't give everybody closure. And by everybody, I just mean Yukari and Aigis. Everybody else seems to be dealing with the loss pretty regular, you know? But those two specifically seem to be very avoidant in dealing with their feelings, so we will see how it all pans out next week. In the meantime, you guys freed me like Neo freed Agent Smith. Thank you very much. Peace.